North Carolina, a licensee is a professional, such as an architect, engineer, or land surveyor, who is responsible for the design and construction of a project. Licensees must have a valid license issued by the North Carolina Board for Licensing of Engineers and Land Surveyors or the North Carolina Board of Architecture. This licensure is typically required for projects that need a building permit or other approvals from local or state authorities. On the other hand, a qualified individual is someone who possesses the knowledge and experience to design and construct a project but is not necessarily a licensed professional. Qualified individuals might be exempt from the requirement to obtain a license for certain types of projects. Examples of such projects include those designed and built by the owner for their own use, small projects that meet certain size and scope limitations, and projects for which a license is not legally mandated. There are several key differences between licensees and qualified individuals. Firstly, licensure. Licensees hold a valid professional license issued by the state, while qualified individuals do not. Secondly, responsibility. Licensees have a legal responsibility to ensure that their designs and construction meet applicable codes and standards. Qualified individuals do not have the same legal responsibility but are still responsible for ensuring the safety and functionality of their projects. Thirdly, exemptions. Qualified individuals may be exempt from licensing requirements for certain types of projects, while licensees generally are not. Fourthly, qualifications. Licensees must meet specific education, experience, and examination requirements to obtain their license. Qualified individuals may not have the same level of formal education or training. It's important to understand the specific requirements for licensees and qualified individuals, as these can vary depending on the type of project and the specific regulations in effect. Always consult the relevant North Carolina regulations to ensure compliance. The distinction between a licensee and a qualified individual is significant because it affects the level of responsibility, accountability, and expertise required for various construction and design projects. A licensee, by virtue of their professional license, is held to a higher standard of care and is legally bound to adhere to established codes and standards. This provides a level of assurance to the public that the project has been designed and constructed by a competent and qualified professional. A qualified individual, while not holding a professional license, may still possess the necessary knowledge and experience to complete certain projects safely and effectively. However, they do not have the same legal obligations as a licensee and may not be subject to the same level of scrutiny. It is essential for project owners and developers to carefully consider the qualifications and experience of both licensees and qualified individuals before engaging their services. The choice between the two will depend on the nature and complexity of the project, as well as the applicable regulatory requirement. In some cases, the use of a licensee may be legally required, while in other cases, a qualified individual may be sufficient. Ultimately, the goal is to ensure that the project is designed and constructed in a safe, sound, and compliant manner. Here's a more detailed breakdown of the responsibilities and qualifications of each. For licensees, the North Carolina Board for Licensing of Engineers and Land Surveyors and the North Carolina Board of Architecture set specific requirements for education, experience, and examination. To become a licensed professional, an individual must typically complete a 4-year or 5-year degree program in a relevant field, such as engineering, architecture, or land surveying. They must then gain several years of practical experience under the supervision of a licensed professional. Finally, they must pass a rigorous examination to demonstrate their knowledge and competence. Once licensed, professionals are required to maintain their licensure by completing continuing education courses and adhering to a code of ethics. They are also subject to disciplinary action if they violate the rules and regulations governing their profession. The responsibilities of a licensee include preparing and sealing design documents, such as plans and specifications. They must also oversee the construction process to ensure that the project is built in accordance with the approved plans and specifications. Licensees are responsible for ensuring that the project complies with all applicable building codes, zoning regulations, and other laws. They are also responsible for protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public. For qualified individuals, the requirements are less formal. There are no specific educational or experience requirements that must be met to become a qualified individual. However, the individual must possess the knowledge and experience necessary to design and construct the project safely and effectively. This knowledge and experience may be gained through formal education, on-the-job training, or self-study. The responsibilities of a qualified individual include designing and constructing the project in accordance with accepted engineering or architectural principles. They must also ensure that the project complies with all applicable building codes, zoning regulations, and other laws. While qualified individuals do not have the same legal responsibilities as licensees, they are still responsible for ensuring the safety and functionality of their project. They may be held liable for damages if their negligence results in injury or property damage. It's worth noting that the specific types of projects for which a qualified individual may be exempt from licensing requirements vary depending on the specific regulations in effect. In some cases, exemptions may be limited to very small projects, such as sheds or fences. In other cases, exemptions may be available for larger projects such as single-family homes, provided that certain conditions are met. The determination of whether a project requires the involvement of a licensee or whether a qualified individual is sufficient should be made on a case-by-case basis, taking into account the complexity of the project, the potential risks involved, and the applicable regulatory requirements. It is always advisable to consult with a qualified legal professional or regulatory expert to ensure compliance with all applicable laws and regulations. Furthermore, remember that even if a project does not legally require the involvement of a licensee, it may still be beneficial to engage the services of a licensed professional. A licensee can bring a higher level of expertise and experience to the project, which can help to ensure that it is designed and constructed to a high standard of quality and safety. Engaging a licensee can also provide peace of mind to the project owner, knowing that the project is being overseen by a qualified and responsible professional. In summary, understanding the distinctions between licensees and qualified individuals in North Carolina is crucial for ensuring project compliance, safety, and quality. While qualified individuals may suffice for specific, less complex projects, licensees bring a higher level of expertise, legal responsibility, and assurance. Project owners and developers must carefully weigh the requirements and benefits of each option to make informed decisions that align with the nature and scope of their projects. Always consult relevant regulations and seek professional guidance to navigate the complexities of licensing and construction requirements in North Carolina.